Hi, GenderBlenders. Welcome to week 74. And this week's question is, how has your attitude towards your transition changed as a result of making that transition and steps towards it? Do you think differently about transition? Is transition ever finished? Hi, I'm Steffi, and I guess I'm to blame for this week's question. So, I'm going to talk about a couple things. How has my attitude changed over time that I've been transitioning? But I'm going to defer that for a minute or two. What about steps towards it? I'm going to talk about that first. But I will also talk about, do I think differently about transition now? And my comments on, is transition ever finished? So I'm going to start off this week with steps towards transition. Initially, I was very scared. I think I've reported that I wasn't sure what I was doing. I stopped twice. What I did know that I felt very good when I was doing hormones. I really wasn't sure. Got scared and stopped a couple times. But you know, eventually I went for broke. And when the girl emerged in me, everything changed. And I guess that's a little bit unusual in the initial steps towards transition, that to be a black and white difference between personalities emerging in you. But I found that to be the case. I literally went to bed one night as my old self and woke up the next morning as a woman. And that was a surprise. But you know, that led me directly into my transition. And so now I'm going to go back to how has my attitude changed over time that I've been transitioning. And I initially didn't know what to expect. So it was my attitude towards transitioning. I wasn't sure whether it was a magic elixir, what the heck was happening, but I sure did know that I was feeling a whole lot better in my transition than I ever felt before in my entire life. So something that I was doing right. But you know, my initial attitudes were, will I ever really be a woman? But then I started seeing results. And I started passing and my confidence increased. However, you know, initially during transition, I never really thought about the consequences of a second puberty. You folks, I know that I'm 63 years old, and I am going through a second puberty, and it's quite amazing. I actually like going through the second puberty, and I find it quite amazing. There's I now understand what a lot of teenagers go through, having a whole bunch of years on top of all that. I understand what they're going through. A lot more than I did then, but I find the same things happening to myself as well, and that's quite interesting, including teenage crushes and all kinds of interesting things happening. But that's very different. So how has my attitude towards transition changed? It's actually been changing over time quite a bit. As I said, my confidence increased a lot during this transition, as soon as I started passing, as soon as I started understanding what I am. Initially, I was kind of ambivalent towards surgery. I figured, you know, at 63 years old, why bother? But you know, that is becoming important. That is becoming more and more important as I move further along in my transition. I find that I need to be complete. I need to be that complete woman. So it's becoming more and more important to me. And so my attitude towards surgery went from, oh, well, why should I? You know, I've got my health back. What else do I need? To, you know, I gotta complete this. I gotta be the full person. And that's becoming more and more important to me as time goes on. Do I think differently about transition now? Yeah, a lot. I do realize it's a medical process. And I do now realize just how powerful it is. And just how sure that I am that I will become what I always want to be. Transitioning towards a woman. I am a woman. I could have said that a year ago. Even though the girl in me had emerged, I was unsure whether I was going to be that woman. But I do realize how powerful this medical process is and how much it does change us. And how much my body has changed. And how much my mind has changed. And my attitudes towards things. Is transition ever finished? That is a really tough question. I don't think it really is. We're developing all the time as a person. And my needs change over time. My wants and desires change over time. As they have throughout my life. But you know, I think that's part of what transition means. It means moving from one to another. So, do we ever stagnate? No, we never do. So we're always in some sort of transition. We're always moving along in life. Will this second puberty end? Yeah, darn it. That will end probably. As my body develops as much as it's going to. Puberty ends the first time around. Puberty's going to end the second time around as well. That's the way it goes. I wish it didn't have to, but that's just the way it is. But is this transition ever finished? No, I don't think the transition's ever finished because we are never finished. We're always moving along and growing and growing and growing. And that growth is what makes us what we are, the individuals that we are, and how we do things, and how we accomplish things, and what we like and what we dislike. But you know, that always changes over time, and it will change. So, how has my attitude changed over time? It's changed a lot. What about the steps towards transition? Oh, that's changed a lot. Do I think differently about transition now than I did initially? Sure I do. By far. 5 years from now, will I think differently than I do now? Probably. Probably will. But there's a lot of things that happen in transition, and there's a lot of things that we develop as people. No matter which way we're going, male to female, female to male, staying in the middle, spread over the entire spectrum. There's a lot of things that'll change. And there's going to be changes in us during time. But you know, that's part of the fun and understanding of what it is, who we are. So that's my take on this week's question. I hope this has been an interesting answer for you. And until next week, this is Steffi saying bye-bye, everyone.